What is going on, guys? Ultimate Deadpool here, finally back with another custom video. So this is a 2007-2008 Ironmonger that was molded and painted or whatever for an Iron Man style suit repaint. And one of the things that I want to do with this eventually is have it be a Hulkbuster style suit. So I hated how toy-like it looked. So I took some black, silver, and blue paint and made it look more, I guess, realistic, for a lack of a better term. So we're gonna go through this guy bit by bit, and I'll explain all the stuff that I did to it. But as you guys know, I like to customize things, hence the background or the back of my set or studio or whatever you want to call it right here. Even with the 12-inch Venom that I just did in my last video. So if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and check that one out after this one. But anyway, I've been customizing things for a long time now, as you guys know, and I am trying to start my own connected universe. And I guess this isn't really a spoiler because it was the whole point. I got this Ironmonger recolor. I would like to use this as a version of the Hulkbuster. I figured it's big enough to do that. It actually scales well, relatively well with the Marvel Legends Hulk that I actually have. You'll see him in a little bit, but it felt too clean. It felt too new. So, and it also felt way too toy-like for, granted this thing came out in 2007. I'm sure if this thing were to come out today, all of these different machine gun and weapons pieces would definitely be at least painted a different color. Maybe not necessarily the way they did it back in 2007. So, let's go ahead and go through this guy bit by bit. So, first off, his head does not rotate anymore. It broke off, and I had to super glue it in place. So that's a bummer, but not a big deal. The arc reactor was originally white, and then obviously all these armor panels and stuff were cleaner. But let's go ahead and go on to the probably the most obvious thing aside from the scratches, the blue dotted out everywhere. Those are supposed to be like on a like a futuristic suit or whatever, where it's got like blue lighting or whatever to show like the suit is supercharged or futuristic. That's what these are supposed to be. Or for those of you who have played Angry Birds Transformers, the Energon versions of the Transformers in that game, how they have all the Energon panel lines. That's kind of what this is supposed to mimic. I need to fix this arm because the joints that are visible, I went ahead and did that as that same light blue shade, so it's I can actually pose this guy and move him around and do what he needs to do. These shoulder pieces, I do actually like how they turned out. The back is probably my favorite part with all the little blue highlights and accents and stuff throughout. But I wanted to do something different with this thing, and that was the hard part, was trying to make it look like a Hulkbuster, but not make it so damaged that it comes across as he's used this way too many times to try to fight the Hulk. And that's kind of where it ended up being. It obviously is completely screwed. I mean, there's chipping and silver dry brushing and stuff everywhere throughout the whole thing, just to add to the more battle damage style look. So most likely what I'm going to end up doing at some point is get another one of these things and do the basic stuff that I did to this one before I added all the dry brushing and everything, so that way I can have him, show up to the scene all nice and clean and whatever, and then all of a sudden he gets the crap beat out of him by the Hulk, and then by the end of the fight he looks just like this, to kind of get the best of both worlds. So I know people have been saying that I should have done this on like the newer Marvel Legends Ironmonger, but just to find that 2-pack that came with him and Obadiah Stane is ridiculously hard to find, relatively inexpensive. At least for me, I can't find it. So for now, this works just as well. But the only thing I hate about this suit, or this figure, or whatever, is back in 2008, they always loved to have little play gimmicks. And if you posed his arms correctly, and you squeezed his legs, it was like the Ironmonger was throwing something or hitting, something. And that was like the whole gimmick of this thing, was you move his leg out and then you bend his other leg in and it triggers something up in the upper torso, and it's like the Ironmonger is hitting something. For a kid in 2007, especially one who had a person like me who had the actual Ironmonger, not this one, it was a fantastic little, element. But at the same time, it sucks because you are super limited into how you can move him. Like, that's as straight as I can make him. If I try to make him super straight, he just springs back into where he's supposed to. I would like to try to break that frickin' joint on the inside of that, but I'm afraid if I did that, this would all rotate way too freely, and it's a ratchet joint. So, like, when you click it, you hear that clicking, because it's an old-fashioned ratchet joint, which are very durable. So, kudos to whoever designed this thing with that particular joint in mind, but at the same time, damn you whoever designed that thing, because this is a bitch to work with as a customizer like me. So, but I mean, honestly, let me know what you guys think of this thing. I think it looks fine. I mean, obviously there are some places that are way more battle damaged than others, like his shoulder pads are definitely scratched all to hell. But I mean, think about it. The way I designed this thing is, I thought about it more realistically. Like, what parts of this suit would realistically have the most damage? And if Hulk is attacking him from up here, and throwing stuff at his head, his first instinct is going to be to block his head, obviously protect his, brain, and save his, make sure he doesn't die fighting the Hulk. So these panels up here, and his hands, and the undersides of his forearms, realistically would have the most amount of battle damage if he is, kind of shielding his head from Hulk or whatever throwing these heavy, gigantic, things at him, and he can't block it in time or destroy it in time. So obviously these pieces would get scuffed up, relatively quickly, to this potentially extreme degree of him fighting a character like the Hulk, who can throw a forklift truck like it's a softball. I'm sorry, I had to do that quote somewhere. But, and then obviously you have some like dirt and pitting and stuff and chipping around his helmet, just to kind of show that, yes, he's blocking the major stuff, but there's still some stuff scratching the crap out of his helmet. It's not near as aggressive as his other parts. And then the chest plate and the upper traps area. Again, realistically, if Hulk is hitting you here, granted, I would have to dent this, and I really don't want to do that because that's going to be a pain in the ass to do. But if you're getting scratched up and stuff all through here, same thing with like around this collar area. Like I said, if he's blocking debris or whatever, and it's all falling and hitting right here, but he's blocking the majority of it, those parts, realistically, in my mind, would be the first pieces to get scratched all to hell. But that also means that he would have to be having something consistently thrown at him in that exact same spot. And then the legs, they actually were a lot more silver than this when I actually did this the first time around, because this is actually, I did it once, but then I had to like go back and wipe it all off, hence why my hands are kind of still covered in paint or whatever. I had to like wipe a lot of that crap off, and obviously I didn't get all of it because there's still plenty of silver on his legs, but they were a lot heavier handed than this, and even the chest plate was a lot more, it almost looked more like what this was. The whole suit looked kind of like that, and I felt like that's just too battle damaged, and that at that point it just looks more like the regular Ironmonger, and I don't want to do that because I do like this color scheme for this suit, because for me it works perfectly because I want to use this suit as a Hulkbuster. Now, before anybody asks, no, his hand is not supposed to look like this. The original Hasbro figure of this concept suit or whatever had two open hands like that. What I did is I took a torch and or a flamethrower or whatever, and I heated the inside of his hands just for a brief second, and I bent each individual finger and held it for a little bit while I ran it over under cold water, and once it cooled, it maintained that shape of a fist. So now he's got one fist and one open palm hand. So if I want to, I can have him kind of go up and then boom, clank, and be like, hey, I'm ready for a fight, and do the whole badass, stereotypical tough guy, punching your own hand or punching your fist or whatever, catching your fist, whatever you want to call it. The pistons. Eventually, I'm going to probably do this intersection a lot more black, because if realistically, pistons are never clean like this. Well, has a black wash over the silver, but they are never 100% clean. They always have a whole bunch of caked up sludge in the high traffic areas, like these crevices here on the cylinders. So all of the pistons and stuff are going to eventually get that treatment. So basically, this guy isn't 100% done yet, but he's close enough to go ahead and make a quick video on it. So and then obviously with today's technology and engineering, I'm sure if Hot Toys or whatever were to make a Ironmonger like this, when you bend the knee, these pistons would probably move and flex along with it. His feet are also relatively scuffed up. I actually like the legs way more than the upper body, just because they look more believable in terms of what scratching would actually happen onto red paint, essentially, and gold paint. Some parts on the black washes got a little bit more carried away, and obviously the silver chipping got a little bit more carried away with some stuff, but honestly, like I said, it's not horrendous. It's not exactly where I would like it to be, but it's not to a point where I think I'm never going to use this thing again for any videos. I still want to use this as a Hulkbuster at some point in the both Connected Universe and other videos, just because I do like the Ironmonger design, and I do like it in this color scheme, which is why I went ahead and did this, because I did like it as the idea of a, kind of like Mark 1 Hulkbuster, but, instead, I went ahead and just did this, and, just tried to make it look as more believable and realistic as I could. Obviously, some places are a lot more scuffed up and battle damaged than others, but, that's what happens when you're painting metal and fighting in it. Honestly, I'm surprised the MCU has never had an Iron Man suit this scuffed up and battle damaged. I mean, obviously we've had battle damaged suits and stuff in the MCU, but and it was definitely a lot more severe than this in certain scenes. But like the amount of paint chipping and scraping that's all off, the suits always have like a really good amount of paint still on them. But at least in my opinion, realistically, that paint would be the first thing to go. Before anything else happened, that paint would be the first thing to go. But anyway, that's just me. That's neither here nor there. I do like how this guy turned out. I mean, obviously, like I said, there are a lot of places that are a little bit more heavy-handed, like his shoulder pads, for instance. I may try to scrape some of that stuff off and kind of dial that stuff down just a little bit. And then I'm going to try to take away this damn gloss that the upper body has. Because, like, right now you can see my studio light here, which I did add. Because so many of you guys kept saying that without it, you can't see half of the stuff that I'm referring to. Like, right now, this would be what I would be doing originally, and you wouldn't be able to see anything. So now with this, you can actually see stuff. And then obviously his rocket thrusters on here that actually make the suit fly in Iron Man. Have a bunch of silver. The whole thing was done in silver, and then it had a black dry wash or black dry brush over that. All of the big silver sections, like the thrusters, the pistons, the Gatling gun or missile launcher, the other guns and stuff here, the pistons back here, all the pistons up here. All of that was done in a base coat of silver first, and then it had the black wash thrown over it. So, but anyway, let me know what you guys think of this. Do you actually like it? Is it horrible? Is it great? Do you even care? And would you guys like to see this thing fight a Hulk at some point? Now, before we go, obviously, I'm not going to leave you with that huge cliffhanger of what it looks like standing next to a Hulk. So this might not be the best example because this Hulk is definitely taller than this Ironmonger. But for a scaling comparison, I mean, yes, the Hulkbuster technically is supposed to be taller than the Hulk to try, so that way it can show, hey, it can actually stand toe to toe with this guy. But for my purposes and whatever I'm going to use it for, it works just fine for me because with my stuff, this is going to be like a prototype Hulkbuster or a Mark 1 Hulkbuster. And then he will eventually get a much better, more recognizable Hulkbuster. But for me and my purposes, as a Mark 1 Hulkbuster, I think the scaling on this works just fine. You can still believe that there's a person in this suit that's about, give or take, Iron Man Mark 2 size fit inside this suit. Even though it's way bigger and bulkier than it probably should be. But that's okay. Like I said, for my purposes, it works. But I can understand why there would be people who'd be a little upset that, oh, Hulk is too big, or oh, that's too small, or whatever. So anyway, let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below, and I will catch you guys all next time in Ultimate Deadpool. Peace out. You guys are awesome. I'll catch you guys all later. Bye.